Hello and welcome to Keeping Current, your only source of news. I'm your host, Grubby Grubberson, and on today's episode, a solution to global drought has been found. Who fires the firemen? And special guest in studio, a big game animal trainer shows us how to deal with liberals in the wild. But first, is Bernie Sanders Colonel Sanders?
It's a good idea. Probably not, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I honestly didn't research this one. I would guess not.
Yeah, I'm leaning probably.
Frankly, the only picture of Colonel Sanders I've ever seen was like on the bucket.
Yeah.
So and that's not like an actor. Is that an actor portrayal?
I think so. Bernie doesn't have like a mustache or goatee.
He is capable.
It's possible.
But is Colonel Sanders capable of communism?
I guess we'll have to dive deeper into this.
We'll have to dig into Sanders' crispy thighs to find out more. Anyway, let's start the show. The climate change issue has been heavily challenged in the scientific literature and in the public discourse. One of the alleged signs of climate change around the world is the various instances of drought throughout the world. But new research from the University of Arkansas reveals that the issues surrounding drought may be more related to the laziness of liberal and immigrant governments rather than that of climate change caused by humans. We have Minx on the scene at the University of Arkansas with Professor Roy Matheson. We'll cut to that interview right now.
Minx on here in location in Arkansas. We're being joined today by Dr. Matheson, Dr. Roy Matheson. Welcome to the show.
Hi there. What's your name?
It's Minx.
Minx. I love that name, Minx. Nice to meet you, good sir. How are we feeling about climate change? Fuck that shit, am I right?
Absolutely.
Fuck that shit.
We think it's a whole bunch of propaganda just to prop up.
Absolutely. Barack Obama started it, and it ends here. It ends here today.
Absolutely, sir. Lead the way. Tell us a bit about your research.
Okay, so I thought it was a funny coincidence. I've been in climate science since the 70s, and I see all these hippie gobbledygooks going on around about, human gas emissions, trash killing turtles, just all this kind of nonsense. I kind of was like the peer review side of that research. I didn't really commit to any research on my own, but a few years ago, I started noticing an interesting trend in America in particular, and then later found correlations abroad. So, we'll just say, look at this case study. California. Liberals. Lazy, socialist, living off the state, what have you. But they also suffer from just a great many droughts and fires that allegedly are caused by the drought. I was staring at a map, looking at California, and looking at all the areas that were experiencing drought-like conditions, every county that went into a state of emergency between the years of 2006 to 2018. That's my latest data source. And when I was looking at this map, I was astonished. There's water right to the left. There's all of California and all the droughts that they have. And the Pacific Ocean is right there.
Absolutely. Every time I see one of these liberal media stations trying to teach us about climate change, they always show us some footage of, just people in dry, sandy climates, and they talk about issues of getting water to these villages and these people. And I always think, why live there? If it's dry, go to the water. Like,
go to the water.
Do
Absolutely.
the work. Like, get to the water. Like,
Well,
it's
I have a theory.
simple.
I like where your head is, son. That is exactly. I'll get to that point a little further. I just want to talk about another case study. What's the biggest threat to America?
Communism?
Islam.
Oh, that's a close second. Absolutely.
Well, I would say it's a first. Tied for first. So, Islam, terrorism, war on terror, big problem for America. We got to solve it with fire and steel, yada yada. But look at where Islam is.
It's in the dry countries.
In the dry countries, we got Saudi Arabia, we got Iraq, we got Egypt, we got the Sahara Desert, we got the Saudi Arabian Desert, we got whatever deserts there are. Coincidence? Look at the government of Saudi Arabia. Oil country, God bless. God bless. We need more, maybe, probably than what we have. Good for them. However, their government is set up to take the profits of the oil and give it back to the civilians there. Socialism. Lazy.
Absolutely. It's promoting this sort of un-American value of just not working at all. And
the Saudi Arabians are un-American. I fully stand by that.
I confidently can tell you here today that the Saudi Arabians are just by nature un-American. Absolutely.
Exactly. So let's wheel it in a little bit. The solution. What's the solution? Water's right there. There's water all around. The Sahara Desert, water in the Mediterranean, water in the Atlantic, water in the Red Sea. Saudi Arabia, you got the Indian Ocean, you got all the oceans around. What's the problem here? You got water. You got water. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like these people just aren't willing to, work for the water, to go to the water.
To the water.
It's as easy as that.
I have a proposed solution. I'm afraid it won't work in those socialist places like Saudi Arabia or California, and it is the water bucket line. Okay? Get every civilian, every homeless person on Venice Beach, every jobless person in the oil market in Saudi Arabia whenever there's fluctuations, the unfortunate oil fluctuations we see. Pick up a bucket, go to the ocean, take it to the sandy, dry parts, and dump the water there.
Oh, absolutely. It seems to be the case, like, if I'm understanding what you're saying, like, a great concept that could really help these people is if they pitched in together, they brought their resources together, and they created a complicated network of almost like a pipeline of sorts of people.
Pipelines of people.
To get this water to where it needs to be. And the reality here is that these people just aren't willing to do it. They aren't willing to work for themselves.
They are absolutely not.
To benefit themselves, to quench that thirst and survive.
So this answer seems obvious.
Oh, 100%. It's a clear solution to their problem.
I'm a climate scientist, and I'm, you hear these stories about 999 climate scientists out of 1,000 think that climate change is real. There's nothing to be done about droughts, yada yada, hurricanes, yada yada, flooding, goodbye Florida, whatever. But I'm that one defender of truth that looks at the map. Look at the map. The answer is so I think I've discovered the true problem, the true solution, and the wider problem of the corruption of the climate science community.
Absolutely. It's just a whole bunch of just propaganda, this anti-capitalist propaganda that water just isn't readily available. And they argue that the ice caps are melting in their propaganda. And if that were true, we'd have more water to drink.
Be more water and more cold water. You have your cold water melting from the polar ice caps, and it cools everything down.
That's a net
The ocean
positive.
would be cooler. And if you think about it, you put ice in a lukewarm drink, right? In your little martini or whatever, you throw it. It's warm. It's been sitting there for hours, and then you put an ice cube in.
And
it's
perfect.
Cold.
Nice American summer drink there. Like, it's just one of these things. They continue just to perpetuate these lies to attack American democracy when we have real practical solutions standing right in front of us. Just wait for the rain. Go to a river. It's easy to get water. It's literally everywhere. It's just
literally everywhere.
You can get water anywhere on this earth.
You know, I once watched a movie. I think it was about a kid who like was living in Africa, and he found a cheetah. Okay, it's a cool movie. They're like pets. They're like friends. It's a really awesome movie. I can't remember what it's called. And they get lost in the desert because they're stupid liberals or some whatever. The kid's stupid, and he's thirsty. He can't find no water. And you know, surprisingly, a smart African kid shows up, and he's like, just dig, and you'll find water. Dig down, and there's water there.
It's just that element of work.
You've been to the beach, correct?
Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah.
The sand is dry. Okay. This is a microcosm of the Sahara Desert, okay, or the Saudi Arabian desert. Dry, and then you dig down, wet, very wet. You got wet sand down, okay. Is California digging?
Oh, absolutely not. It seems to be the case that if you put in that work, you're literally automatically being rewarded for that work through the grace of God Himself. Just dig.
Yeah.
Forfeit that socialism and, you know, pull yourself up by your own abilities and gather water where it's available, literally anywhere.
Exactly. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy, as we say.
Even a child in Africa is able to survive. So what do liberal adults in California have to say for themselves?
Laziness. It's just how they were socialized. Socialized, but like the other word is socialized, not
academic context, not the
socialized like they were raised to be fucking lazy pieces of garbage, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I'm very excited. I'm going to a talk at OPEC. They're having a convention. The other oil companies and countries, we're all going to get together, talk, and I'm going to explain my findings. And maybe we can get some bucket lines, right? We got all these Saudi Arabian drillers for oil. Maybe some could be for water, and you won't have no desert no more.
Yeah, it's, you know, easy solutions, common sense, just things that, you know, liberals, socialists, communists, take your pick, are just unable to comprehend or commit to.
Losers.
Absolutely. Nerds. Awful filth is what they are. Well, that was an insightful interview here by Dr. Matheson. We'll send it back to you in studio.
All right, thank you very much, Minx. That was an excellent little segment, and I was very interested with what this Dr. Roy Matheson at the University of Arkansas had to say. Moving on to our next story, firemen. Firemen have been seen as a staple in the Western world and maybe the rest of the world, I'm not sure, for many, many years. And we see them as a necessity to combat fire, to be the source of emergency personnel, predominantly fire, but they respond to cats in trees, they respond to sinkholes, and what have you. We have Minx in studio here to discuss firemen. Who fires the firemen?
It's a great philosophical question that we need to ask ourselves in our nation today. You know, the left constantly never stops complaining about police officers and the legal system and justice in our country. And they tell us, you know, one bad apple spoils the bunch and yada, yada, yada. And they keep just threatening the well-being and the safety of these true-blooded American patriots as if there's some sort of monster lurking in the shadow of our nation. And the question needs to be asked of, if we're gonna pick and tease and prod and tear apart the police, well, who else is next on the list? And you know, we were just sitting here thinking about that, and when you really think about it, firemen are kind of socialist crusaders when you really break it down. Like,
exactly.
If you think about the concept of a fireman, that is my tax dollars being put towards saving the property of just some ungrateful socialists down the line. When if you want to protect your property, protect your property. If you want to insure your property, pay for the insurance on your own. Why do my taxpayer dollars have to go towards a system that is going to help out my neighbor's property? That's not my property. I don't have a responsibility to ensure that that's protected, whether it's their property, their well-being, their livelihoods. It's a joke. And what do firemen do on their off time if they're not stopping fires? They're often paramedics. And that, too, if you think about it, is a socialist concept. Why do I have to help my neighbor with my resources if they're having a health crisis? In our country, we've boldly protected the idea that each person should work and pay for their own medical expenses. So why do we do things like have paramedics, teach first aid? Like, these are socialist, poisonous concepts in our nation.
Like, those taxes could have stayed in your pocket.
Absolutely.
And you could have bought a gun maybe, and you could defend yourself
Absolutely.
that way. Or you could have paid for your own first aid training if you wanted it.
Absolutely.
Do you want it, Minx? Do you care?
Well,
I don't.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? You have to consider, if we leave the money in the pockets of each, man and woman of this nation, proudly there as they had earned it, you got to think of what's the possibility that those people can do with that wealth. We're stunting innovation. We're preventing venture capitalism. We're preventing just the spirit of the free market.
Philosophically speaking, you're saying if we allow firemen to exist as they currently exist, it will transform the culture into that of being reliant on the state.
Absolutely. That's the start. And I would argue with things like firemen, and you know what the original sin of our nation was? Libraries. Why did we provide taxpayer dollars to provide a free public service to any person in this country to gain knowledge? Knowledge is something you as an individual has to pay for yourself or search for yourself. Why
you decide the knowledge. Like, it's up to the individual to decide what is knowledge. Who's a book to tell you what knowledge
is? It was the first, propaganda machine of the socialists, communists, liberals, the atheists.
And the books, they're old. They smell. They hound you if you forget to return them.
It's awful.
You pay for a library card, even though it's socialist.
It's everything about it just speaks just poison, toxicity.
All right, these are all excellent points, Minx. I want to play a little thought experiment with you. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this scenario I'm going to give you, and the audience at home. Please play along yourselves. Play with yourselves. Okay, here's the scenario. You have two apartment buildings on fire, right? The firefighting department, they respond, but they're going to respond to the one closest to them. Okay, there's burning A, which is the one they first respond to, and burning B. Okay, they go into burning A, and there is children, okay, young minds, not yet warped by
the public school system.
By the public school system. They're still fresh and virgin in their conceptual awareness of the world. Firefighters obviously save them, right? Some young working men, okay, we save them, right? And at the very top, there's a bunch of old people, elderly individuals who are a drain on the state. They are not productive. They don't move their capital. They sit on it. They just take mortgages on their home and then keep it for very minimal engagement with the market. Now, there's several of these elderly people. Will the firefighting department, alternatively, should the firefighting department go up one at a time to get each of them and bring them down while burning building B remains completely unevacuated? Is there a system of prioritization? Should there be prioritization based on individual merit to capitalism?
Absolutely. My solution, I think the better process that we need to do instead of a fire department is just to have a private industry that would evaluate the worth of the people there and what sort of value they have for our society. So rather than sending in these socialist crusaders, with bleeding hearts to save every person that they can and to use taxpayer funds inappropriately by, protecting the property of somebody when it should be done themselves. Rather, we should have a complicated network that after a crisis, they evaluate the worth of each of these people And if those people paid into this system, their next of kin would receive some sort of payment, some sort of assurance, I would call it. I think that's a good term for this concept is an assurance rate.
You are assured.
You're assuring this person that they're dead.
And you're ensuring that it occurs because you're paying.
Yes, absolutely.
It's legally bound because of the transaction.
Yes, and it's a valued component to a capitalist regime.
Assured and ensured.
Yes.
That's an interesting idea, actually.
I think it's just a better system rather than
private assurance.
Yes,
and as well as a private insurance.
Yeah, and it's reactionary, right? Like this proactive kind of philosophy is just flawed, right? Why would we prevent fires that didn't happen? Why would
Who knows how bad they would get anyway? Maybe
exactly, and why are we saving people whose values we don't understand yet? We don't know what sort of good or bad comes of saving this person.
You're old. You have diabetes.
Exactly.
You have
who's
all
to
these,
say?
Classifications that make you more at risk.
Absolutely. Exactly. We have to create we have to create an in-depth.
Okay, Grandma, I'm sorry. You're great. Thanks for the $50 on my birthday. You were 3 weeks late. Time to die.
Well, okay. It's not even that we're committing them to death. It's just that they could.
We're
survive.
leaving them to their agency.
Exactly.
There we go.
If you think about it, it's just we're not coddling people. We're not
causing a situation.
Yeah, we're not intentionally causing
fires. We are
fires.
giving them the opportunity to fix things for themselves.
Absolutely. And any American ready to work would be ready to address a situation like that. It's only the socialists who can't survive fires or can't stop fires, right?
I heard a case. There was a fire in a building in New York where a bunch of socialists were sitting there. The fire was raging, blazing, and they were recorded. They were live streaming on Twitch for some reason, and they said, "Well, we'll just wait till someone else comes."
Yeah, and they don't even.
We'll wait until some other authority from outside that they don't know the authority. They don't know the veracity of their knowledge on responding to extreme circumstances.
And how are we to trust?
Who knows if they're trained properly?
And who's to say that exactly right? Who's to say that that's the most dangerous place to be at that time? How do I trust that?
Maybe it's more dangerous on the street.
Absolutely. Who's to say that this person may not evacuate someone from a building just to put them into who knows, a deadly encounter, like a shark attack.
Well, you're out on the street. This apartment building, thought experiment. Returning to that, you're on the street. Apartment buildings. You must be in the inner city. Inner city crime. Suddenly, you've been exposed to that, and the firefighters, they might be put out fire. Yada water, but they're not thinking about.
They're not police officers.
Maybe there's gang members around the corner.
Absolutely, their priorities
and they want to
steal
your purse.
That's
your
correct.
Belongings.
Their priorities are skewed by their propaganda. The lens that they were given, their rose colored glasses. They're taught to be proactive, save people, but the priorities in these situations are. Who needs to be punished in these scenarios? Really, if you think about it, a fire is a blessing in disguise because it alerts authorities to give them the ability to act in those situations in which, they might uncover, hidden drug dens or some other sort of crime. Really, it's a positive thing to have a fire in a neighborhood.
Right. So before we end this segment, let's return to our main point. Who fires the firemen? Who's in charge of them? If they're untrained, if they have ulterior motives when they enter a building that's on fire. What? If you lift the veil, lift the curtain, who stands there? Who is? Does the president have authority? I personally hope not. This president that we have, I should not be in charge of the firemen.
This administration is pro-firemen. Without a doubt, they're pro-socialist, crusading.
But who is? The curtain was lifted after the fake Kung Flu issue, and Fauci was there. We saw Fauci, and he was puppeteering the scenario. He's conniving and lying, and we were able to witness that, luckily, and we were able to see the truth. But we don't have that with the firemen.
It's one of those, mysterious forces of, the lingering communist threat. And I think the remedy, and I congratulate our listeners because they're in the right place for this. The remedy is, those pure-blooded Americans ready, to take up arms and to take up the cause against this spread of the red. Red spread.
The red is spreading.
It's just
like in a house of very flammable material.
Oh, absolutely, and it's just red spread everywhere. There's
a hose somewhere, but we need to grab it ourselves, because I can't trust someone else.
And that goes back to just again these socialists attacking our police force. Those sayings like the thin blue line. That's just a metaphor for if you work, you put in the effort, you get that hose. It creates that stream of water that is that thin blue line to stop the red spread of that fire.
I see.
We don't need no communists to come in and to, pick who's worthy of saving, and they pick everyone. Mm-hmm. Each person, each American needs to make that choice for themselves in those situations.
I half wonder if Zionist billionaires such as George Soros might somehow be implicated.
Oh, 100%. There's no doubt that threat is there. We just have to search for it.
We have to find that threat.
And that's why we're here. And again, I congratulate our viewers for listening.
Michael Bloomberg, are you in control of Firemen?
Absolutely.
George Soros, Hillary Clinton.
100% the Clintons. Mm-hmm. Every single Clinton on this earth is guilty. 100%. Last name Clinton, 100% guilt.
100% guilt. Well,
absolutely.
We have a lot to think about, and I won't be looking at my local firefighters, my fire station, the same way. I don't trust them.
It's just enemies in your neighborhood.
And frankly, I have a garden. I use a hose. Is it that hard? Is it really that hard?
It's propaganda. They over exaggerate how bad fires are.
Very true. Very true. All right, so for our final story today, we have a special guest, Jaron Dijon, a big game animal trainer here in studio. We have Minx working with him, and they're going to discuss how to encounter some of the most dangerous big game creatures you can deal with in the wild. Here they are, Minx and Jaron.
Welcome back, audience. So we're here with Jaron Dijon.
God, I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much, everyone. My name's Jaron Dijon. Hey, Minx, pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're so excited.
I'm so excited to be here and talk about big game animals, how to deal with them in the wild if you ever encounter them.
We're big fans of your series on the show here, and we're excited to hear. Yeah, we heard you have a pretty special game that you're here to talk about.
So a little bit about my history. Okay, started with rhinoceros. I was in Kenya. Okay, trained rhinoceros. Very simple stuff with the rhinoceros. Just whip work, gun work. Okay, that's how you control the animal, right? I moved to Thailand to deal with illegally traded bears, big cats. Worked with them for a little, and then I moved to Dallas, Texas. And oh my God, the wildlife there is absolutely fantastic. But there's one species out of them all that is so dangerous, and the public just needs to be aware of how to deal with them. And that is the modern liberal man.
We're excited to hear about some of the tips and tricks and tactics you have for us on how to engage with these just irrational creatures in the wild.
Yes. So, Minx, let me ask you. You've been on the street, hitting the town with your ladies, you're getting drinks, you're at the shops, and you encounter a man, likely balding, short stature, glasses, and he comments on your MAGA hat. What do you do?
It's right away you just gotta assert yourself as the alpha I find with these.
That's absolutely right. That's
these
absolutely
big game creatures. Like they really quickly will just revert into their sort of beta instinct. If you get aggressive with them, they'll back out, often saying things like, whoa, this is a point for conversation. Well, then why are you getting aggressive with me if you're not ready to square up, And it's one of those things where as right-leaning people, we're ready to lay the law down. We don't got to call police. We do. We back the blue, but we're ready then and there. And those people, they're just cowards.
I love the energy. I'm so on it. I can tell you've watched my series.
Oh, big fan. Got a lot of your merch.
You know how to deal with a wild liberal man, right? Assert yourself, square your shoulders, look him in the eye. He's likely autistic. He can't maintain that connection. Okay? Look him in the eye. Don't back down. Okay, don't approach. That will cause him to engage. That's called the spasmistic response. Okay, they know they're weaker than you. They know they're smaller than you. But like any snake in the wild, like any big cat, they're gonna lash out. Okay, and you gotta avoid that because that's where it gets dangerous, right? In the eyes of the law, you're a bigger, stronger man, and this infantile human has been injured. You get charged, right? So how do we move on from there? Well, you've seen the video. Sometimes, even unprovoked, even when their body language is not squared up and aggressive, they'll be to the side, they will still swing around and kick, okay? You've seen that, right?
Oh,
they are very capable of a roundhouse kick. I will not deny them that. Their flexibility, their ability to bend their legs, their cervix, their pelvis is astronomical. It's something I quite admire about these animals.
Quite a feminine.
Very feminine. Very feminine. Yes. And we'll get to more of that later. I love where your head's at, Minx. Absolutely fantastic. You should be in this industry as well.
Well, I'm flattered.
So in that scenario, what was he aiming for?
I find usually they'll first, the classic move is they'll go for their phone. They pick out their phones. They're not ready to engage with you on sort of that rational level, right? They've got to make the environment.
It's that eye connection, that autistic sense.
They got to augment it. They got to put something in that now, safety blanket.
I'm going to stop you right there. That's exactly right. They don't want to play on an even playing field. When they aim to kick, it's usually to disengage your recording device.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say do not hold your property up to them. Do not give them a target to lash out at. Stand firm, stand strong, stand square. Okay? All right, now, you're in this heated exchange. It's been escalated. You're in an escalated situation. You need to de-escalate. But you unfortunately cannot record it on a recording device to show your side to the authorities. You cannot physically intervene, or else you will be blamed for that interaction. So, I highly recommend, the same way you go out into the mountains, you have bear mace, right? You go out fishing, you carry a gun in case you find a shark, right? Carry with you at all times. Now I'm talking directly to the audience. Carry a cock cage. A cock cage.
Now, audience, you have to understand the seriousness here. This is
absolutely
very
imperative.
Like critical survival skills that you're learning here today. It's a great resource to have our guest here today, and what he is telling you should take as absolute truth.
I go camping in Oregon. I'm bringing bear mace, tent, raincoat, knife, gun
for fishing.
Absolutely, gun for fishing, and cock cage.
Yes, for any wild liberals that might be trying to prowl.
Males in particular.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, you have your cock cage, you have it on your belt. You slowly reach for it. Now, it's a little difficult, you have to practice. You engage the cock cage. Okay? Engage the cock cage with one hand. Make sure he doesn't see, right? And then in one swift motion, your other free hand, pull their pants down, apply the cock cage. All right? The male liberal will resist at first, initially, but it'll calm down. Because do you know what you've done there, Minx? If you put the cock cage and apply it to the beast.
It seems to be an act of domination, of submission against the animal.
Well, it puts them in their natural state of being.
That makes perfect
sense. It gives
sense.
them comfort. Okay, the same way you take a snake, he wants to get you. He's angry. He's got a fire, and he wants to get you. You throw him in a heated bag. He's docile, right?
They want the warmth. Habitat, yeah.
They want the warmth. They want to relax, right? The exact same principle applies with the liberal male. Cock cage on, they've been cuckolded, okay? They're at home now, they can relax. Honestly, it sounds invasive. It is an invasive procedure, and I know many aren't comfortable with it. Trust me, the first time I did it, I thought it was a little weird myself, but it is so effective to end that interaction and to avoid any further escalation in that scenario. Cock cage applied, they've been cuckolded, they feel at home, they feel normal, and then they go on their business. And let me add you've done a good thing, because they're taking that cock cage with them, and it's theirs. They have a cock cage, and the key is gone. So to them, it's indefinite, right? They have been cuckolded infinitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You're giving them a gift.
It's no different than like declawing a house cat or clipping.
Exactly, you're making them docile. You're making them fit in. It's absolutely fantastic. I would say, it's invasive. It is a defensive procedure. I would not go around to liberals. I would not go to Hollywood. I would not
with this
go.
Administration.
Absolutely not. And just cock cage. For one thing, they're expensive. Okay, we need a national program, the same way we have naloxone, right? The same way we have first aid training. Okay, we need a cock cage supply, right? First aid kit. Cock cage. We need them both
on how to defend themselves. They can
Absolutely.
buy one to have in their car and
be
ready for these intense situations.
Absolutely. Now, going for that, we have the solution to the liberal male. Okay, the liberal female is a whole other different beast. That one we do not have a very secure and safe process to deal with at this point.
Absolutely. I've heard just the science there tends to be, a male grizzly bear. Usually the ways of defending yourself are quite simple. A mother grizzly bear, much, much more difficult. And, female liberals, they show similar features to poisonous lizards with colored hair and such.
Exactly. So I think we got to take that principle even further. So we look at the animal kingdom. What do we often see? Birds of paradise. Okay, the males, the plumage is fantastic. The males are peacocking. We have that phrase, peacocking, right? Not the NBC programming, but the animal, the bird.
Yeah.
They're peacocking. They're spreading their feathers. They're trying to attract a mate. They're using their masculine features to attract a mate. And the females, often very plain looking, right? Brown feathers, very meek. They do not have the same plumage, right? Now that is a literal male and a literal female relationship in the wild, okay? The literal male and the literal female relationship for a liberal is reversed. The females peacock. They have the red hair. They have the piercings on the nose. Identifying them, easy as all hell, let me tell you. You can see them from a mile away, right? If you can't hear them ranting in the streets, you can tell they're coming on Twitter. Let me tell
absolutely.
You can absolutely tell.
They're the most visible.
Very visible. But that does not stop them from being incredibly dangerous. So, the only form of disengagement and de-escalation I've ever had, honestly, is just to run away. Because as a strong, normal male, you can absolutely outrun them. Okay?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
It's just in the biology.
I'm not going to comment on the female liberals, okay? But you can outrun them. Easy peasy. But the problem is, they get you in their sights. You're running, okay? You've done your job. You start running. What they can do is they have a high-level form of communication so that they can intercept you. They can send messages to other liberal females for that interception. So you have to be very careful of that.
Oh, 100%. You're on their radar.
I have been caught off guard many times. Let me tell you, right?
Yeah, and they'll hunt you. So they'll keep coming. You may, months go by, and now they come back, accusing you of some false crimes.
Absolutely. So sometimes there are alternatives, but it really depends on the scenario and the context. So I find a whip can be very effective. However, that depends on how many are in the area. If it's just one, a whip, she's running. She's waddling as fast as she can away from the scene. Okay? But if there's a whole gaggle of them, right, and they're behind you and they're all around you, they can overpower you. Okay? Right? Be very, very careful. That physical intimidation can work. but also may backfire. Okay? Be very careful about that. I will not advocate that. I have used it. It has been effective, but it also has not been effective. It has given me the exact opposite result. I was
absolutely. You're a trained professional who's going into the most extreme situations. Our viewers listening, avoid these situations. Protect yourself.
Stay away from inner cities, university campuses.
Absolutely.
Starbucks. Oh, that's a bad one. Starbucks.
That is
gay theater companies.
Pride
gay clubs, pride celebrations. Anything related to the LGBTQ.
Democratic conventions.
Anything related to the liberal ideology. Stay away from, and then you're not going to find yourself in these situations.
Just avoid it. Protect yourself.
And if you cannot avoid it, if you're at work and there's a protest, you're working at Netflix and someone's babbling about Dave Chappelle outside your window and you want to get to your car. Okay, male, cock cage. Immediately. He squares up, cock cage. Get him right immediately. Okay?
Absolutely.
Female gets you in their sights. They are unstoppable. Okay? Run away as fast as you can, but be mindful. Luckily, watch for the plumage. Okay?
Yeah.
You can see it out of your periphery. Okay? You have that view.
Yeah.
Stay away from red. Stay away from green.
Absolutely.
Stay away from blue. Stay away from purple. Okay?
Absolutely.
Stay away. Okay? You see the sides of a woman's head shaved. Might be a natural color. Stay away. Absolutely. An excessive amount of piercings. That is not the best way to evaluate because piercings are very, very common now. Very common on these animals. Okay?
But unfortunately, so are liberals too, right?
Unfortunately, yes. But as far as the piercings go, more excessive, more likely they will attack. Okay? The ears completely covered. Problem. They have a hoop gauge, maybe a nose piercing. They might not. Be careful. Approach with caution.
Well, and these are great, tips, tricks, survival skills that you've given our audience today. And we're very grateful for you to spend time sharing your experience.
Absolutely,
and your knowledge with us.
And I recommend everyone go to my YouTube channel as well as on Donald Trump's new platform, Truth. I'm on there. My name is Jaron Dijon, and I would love to come back. I'm going to experiment with the liberal females.
100%, yeah.
I'm actually experimenting with another approach for the liberal male. Okay.
Ooh, interesting.
As well as other immigrant groups. Okay, there are ways to engage with them.
That's amazing.
To de-escalate end a situation. Anyway, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Jaron Dijon. That's my name.
Absolutely. And audience, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And that was the great Jaron Dijon in studio here, just to tell you all some great and very vital survival tips in the modern world.
Well, that was a fantastic segment. That is the episode, folks. Have a lovely day. And remember, keeping current is your only source of news.
Bad fuck up was that olives were pickled grapes. It's what my brain briefly gave me as information. And I was like, fucking stop, you idiot. Grapes are grapes. They can be raisins, but olives aren't fucking related at all. And I was like, you're also fucking up, like, cucumbers become pickles. Like, I was like, you're crossing way too many fucking wires right now. You fucking moron. And then after that was when, like, the grape juice. I was like, I haven't had grape juice in, like, a long time. I've had apple juice, orange juice. I think orange juice is the best of the three. I don't know what else to, like, pineapple juice.
Of the three juices.
I'm trying to think of juices now.
Okay. This will be a good outro.
I think oranges are good. Is the best.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyways, I came up with thoughts. You're not going to like them.